G'day, legends. Welcome to the Celtic Down Under podcast. I'm your host, Jared, and joining me, it's a repeat of last week. It's Ian and Shane. How you going, Ian? Is he frozen? How you going, Shane?
No, I'm just kidding. I haven't frozen. Sorry. So, good. Thanks, mate. Good. Good to get out and about on the weekend, do a little bit of Christmas shopping, and also got out to the basketball yesterday. Saw the Phoenix get the W over United, so that was great. And and then we got to see the start of the Nancy era at Celtic, which was a very early morning kickoff for us.
So one thing, Shane, when you just tried that little trick there, you forgot one thing. You're on camera and your blinking kind of gives it away. But anyway, no, good. It was good to see the Southeast Melbourne Phoenix get up in the NBL over here. But the main event yesterday definitely was the beginning of the Wilfred Nancy era at Celtic. So, there's a bit to talk about in that game, a bit to unpack. But I think we need to start it off with a couple of the memes because there's no other plays like the episode board games, and there's double meaning on that, which you'll figure out as the show goes on. But look at him with his whiteboard, and look at McKinnis in the background being a lurker. Look at that. That's like I don't know if guys over in Scotland and Ireland and overseas know about it, but there was a show over here, Hamish and Andy, and they had like what was it, ghosting? Was it actual sport where you just walk real quick behind someone and just see what they're doing? That was my thought when I saw that. I was like, oh, McInnes is ghosting Nuncy. There you go. And then you've got this one, obviously. This is the best. Someone get him some green magnets, please. Get rid of those blue ones.
Yeah, the blue and the red don't work that well, do
That's
they?
the best one of the lot. It's an absolute cracker. Like seeing some of that. Normally we laugh at the Huns for that sort of meme-worthy stuff, but you got to take the piss out of yourself. It's pretty funny, all things considered. And I think that's the reason I'm bringing that up now is because if you're looking at the game and you saw the starting lineup, I'm just trying to get that lineup list in front of me again because I just accidentally shut it down because I'm a moron sometimes. But yeah, like when I see the team list come out and it's Schmeichel in goals, Tierney, Trusty, Scales, Hatade, McGregor, Engels, Yang, Tenecti, Maida. I think I've covered everyone there. It's and Nigrin. There you go. So that's your lineup. I'm looking at going, what the bloody hell are we doing? What's this formation? And who's playing where? Is Scales playing in the center of a back three? Is Tierney playing on the left? The funniest part is all three of our guys who started in the back three there, Shane, were all left-footed. Trusty playing on the right of a back three. Like, that is odd. Who's playing the wing-back positions? Are we playing with wing-backs or are we just playing with four in the middle? Like, as a 3-4-2? These are all the thoughts going through my head at like 2 o'clock, just before 2 o'clock in the morning for us. Yeah. Weird. So, what was your thoughts when you saw that lineup and then seeing the new formation to start things off?
Yeah, same. To be honest with you, the exact same thoughts were running through my head. I got the team list that was posted on the socials that obviously just has the names. And I spent a good 5 to 10 minutes looking at the names, just trying to work out who's going where. And at one point, I'd convinced myself it was still a 4-3-3, which was completely bonkers. But I was just like yourself. I sort of settled that it was going to be a back three of Tierney, Scales, and Trusty. But then from there, I think the wing backs, I was like, well, who's playing wing back? What's going on there? It was a little bit hard to actually imagine it. And it wasn't really until they actually lined up on the pitch that I was sort of right, okay, we've got Tenetki on this side, Yang on the right, and then we've got McGregor and Engels, in the middle. We've got Hatate and Negrin as essentially 2 10s. And Maeda leading the line. So none of that was very clearly obvious to me up until they actually ran out onto the pitch and the game started. So, but yeah, very similar set of questions were pretty much buzzing through my mind, as I imagine thousands of other Celtic fans as well.
Yeah, it was a bit of a weird one because, I'm looking at it going, if we are playing a 4-3-3, who was the right back? And I saw people in some chats saying it was Tenecti, I saw other people saying Yang was playing there. One of the I think it was Foot Mob or someone like that, they changed it 3 or 4 different times. But
Yep, that
so it's like, who's actually playing that? Are we playing Rio at right back? Because Liam said that he's played there numerous times in Japan. So I was thinking, "Oh, okay, is he dropping back there? Is Kelmac dropping a right back?"
oh, no, no,
Then I thought,
that's
"No, it's not Neil Lennon."
no.
So it's just a bit of an interesting one. So for me, getting the new formation, okay, let's see how this plays out. Yeah, it was a bit of a weird one for me because I don't mind the new formation and everything, and I know it's gonna take time, and we'll try and add Ian back in now, but it's gonna take some time. But the thing for me was, how are we who's playing up front? Are they wingers or are they full like, are they inverted wingers? Are they full on wingers? Are we playing 2 with a 10 behind, 2 strikers with a 10 behind? What are we doing exactly? Trying to figure that out. Like, the first like, watching the replay and everything back, it's the first half until they scored, we looked really good, and then we looked like we went off a cliff after that. Players looked uneasy, unsure what they're meant to be doing. That stupid whiteboard came out, makes us look tin pot, and, yeah, then we just went downhill pretty quick, so, yeah, both of their goals came from individual mistakes more than a structural issue, but, yeah, it's, not ideal. So, Ian, what was your thoughts when you saw the new formation?
I was kind of shocked actually because I said it in the group chat earlier on that when Nonsi did his interview, it was slightly reassuring when he said, "Look, I'm not going to change a lot. I'm just going to sort of just maybe add some nuances." But a nuance is a very slight and subtle change. I know it's a French word, and I'm not French, and Wilfried is. But last time I checked, nuance meant a subtle change, and a change of formation is not a subtle change. So I thought that was quite drastic. It was either kind of naivety, I thought, or ego. I don't know, but it was a bold move. And I've only seen the highlights. Admittedly, I didn't see the whole game. I thought the game was actually an earlier kickoff, so I was all primed to watch it, and then I realised it was a 3 o'clock. So obviously, for the time that time for us, it was a bit of a. So I fell asleep basically. So I've only seen the highlights, but you're right. It did look like it was pretty free flowing in the first half. You know, until we lost the goal, and then we kind of went to pieces a little bit. It was right before half time, obviously, but for the goal, it seemed like everyone thought it was offside. You play to the whistle, but for me, it looked like it was chaos. We got 3 centre halves. And we had 4 or 5 bodies in the box, and we still didn't stop that little guy scoring. So that was confusion. So that was kind of like I don't know how to fuck up a playbook. Really, hope that's not too early to swear. Sorry, mum. But essentially, it was a bit of self-inflicted chaos, bit of a self-inflicted wound. And in terms of the personnel, I think I like, in theory, I like the formation. I think it could be pretty exciting to watch, but of course you need the personnel to be able to execute these things. So with the best will in the world, Tunetke, and I said that before, as long as he's got a hold of his backside, he's not that type of guy. But I do think Yang has potential to obviously Yang's not the long term solution because AJ will be back. But Yang seems to have bulked up. Yang seems to be developing. And I think under Martin O'Neill, I think he was trusted a lot more, and he responded. Tanecki looks like he's frightened of his own shadow. He gets so far, but he looks like he pulls out of every single. Just in case, he had a rumour that in football that there might be some human contact, but he thought, why chance it? So it's like whenever he gets so far, he just pulls out. So he needs to toughen up, for him to sort of be in that role. I know we kind of we flirted with disaster a little bit under Martin O'Neill. We got the results, but the kind of performances weren't always amazing. But when Wilfried said, he's not fussed about winning or losing, he's more worried about performance. I don't think he was being flippant. I think what he meant was if we get the performances right, then obviously the results will be favourable. But when he came out and said, he understands the club and he understands the mentality, and people will laugh at this, right? But like the expectation at a club like Celtic and Rangers is a similar expectation to Barcelona, to Real Madrid, to Liverpool, to Arsenal, to Manchester United, where you have to win, especially at home. Just to get a draw and things like that. If you're a nominal team in a top 5 league, it's not enough. Celtic, despite the fact that we play in the Scottish League, the expectation is that you win every game. I know that's not possible, but that's the expectation. So, circling back again to the question about the formation, I was yeah. I wouldn't say I was stunned because I kind of knew anyway. I watched it on replay, but I thought it was a bit of a bold move, but maybe slightly a bit too ambitious.
So there's a bit to unpack there, Shane. So
I was about to say, like, how are we going to follow that?
I've got.
Sorry, I'm rambling on.
No, good, Ian. You don't know when the internet's going to drop out.
He's stealing my gig. Like, I'm the waffler, and I feel like I've just been usurped. Like, what's going on?
It's a waffle contest between you two. There you go. No, just a couple of things on there. So you said about Tenecti, or like doesn't want to get contact, or that. Robert Gibson's got a comment. I have to bring it up because if it's right in my sort of sense of humour, Tenecti pulls out faster than a porn star on the money shot. I was going to make a joke when you said that, and I was like, yeah. But the thing with Tenecti, right, it's a bit of a weird one. So I went back and I watched some old footage from Rodgers' first stint at the club, right? And even before that. And you know who Tenecti reminds me of? It's going to sound like a really weird comparison. He reminds me of first 3 or 4 weeks at Celtic of Paddy Roberts. Gets on the wing, likes to turn players and run past them and put all the flicks and tricks on. But then the first 3 or 4 weeks, Paddy Roberts gradually got to the point where he's like, actually, I'm getting to some good positions here. I need to not just look for crosses. I need to have a shot. And then he just started doing that and he went off to the races and was really great for us. That's the best comparison I can find for him at the moment, the way he's playing. It's that trickery sort of thing that Roberts did in his first stint at the club, but without the end product that eventually developed over month 2, month 3, month 4 at the club. So lift your game, Tenecti.
Well, I suppose that's kind of our process. Getting a player like Tenecti, polishing him up, and getting him to a position where he actually has an end product. Then when he does that, we'll sell him. So that's kind of our model, isn't it? So hopefully, he's got that kind of in his locker for us to sort of get that out of him.
I look at it, Ian, and I go like this. We do that all the time. We sign players, we bring them in. We spend a bit more on Tenecti than we probably should have. But the thing is, you don't want him to become another Tilio. Comes in, does nothing, see you out the door. We spent more money on him. You can't polish a turd sometimes. So if he's absolute shit, then sell him, get him on. That's what we're going to have to do with Balakwisha. There's nothing there for him. Tenecti, the comparison is like I just said for Paddy Roberts in terms of the play without the end result. I still think there could be a player there, but he's got to get on the chicken and broccoli and rice diet of Ryan Christie and them, toughen up a bit, and then start to shoot the friggin' ball.
Yeah. Also, as well, understand when to sort of release the ball. Pass. I think he kind of runs himself. He gets into really good positions, and he's kind of a bit of a throwback, which is nice to see. But I think he just needs a bit of that football intelligence. Sort of, he's only a young lad, but that football intelligence of when to sort of go sort of 1 or 2 touch, pass and move, all that kind of stuff. He seems to run down a bit of a blind alley, but I noticed very early on he was like he just pulls out straight away. He doesn't want to know when there's any even a possible chance of getting any contact. So,
and that brings me to my other comparison for him, which was Mikey Johnson.
Yeah.
So those were the 2 closest that come to it. But anyway, yeah, we'll see what happens on that. But yeah, the first half we spoke about that. It was a pretty decent second half. Shane, what was your thoughts on that?
The second half, we were really poor. I actually think a lot of the problems that we saw with the disjointedness and the lack of cohesion was actually still there in the first half. It's just, particularly for that first 20 to 25 minutes, we were playing with a really good tempo and we were getting the ball into space that I don't think it was as obvious. But in the second half, when they sat back a bit, our tempo dropped. We weren't able to build anything from midfield, and all of a sudden, and our passing was horrendous for pretty much most of the second half. But then that lack of cohesion with the team in this new formation was really noticeable. Players not really knowing which area, which pocket of space they needed to be in, which runs they needed to make. Um, we just seemed like a team in that second half that was trying to learn a new formation that's only been sort of, I guess, thrusted upon them within the last few days. And it really showed. That didn't really explain the passing, in my opinion. That was really, really poor. We just couldn't get anything going. We had our, and it was a problem in the first half as well. And again, I think the tempo and the way that we played, and particularly in transition, masked a lot of what we saw in the second half, in the first half. But in the second half and first half, we really struggled with that final ball, right? That was a constant throughout the 90s, that we would get the ball forward, we'd get the ball into some good areas. But that final cross, there was no cohesion there. Players didn't know where they needed to be. The cross coming in, no one was there to tackle it. There was a couple of times Tierney who put in a couple of really good balls into the box. No one was there to attack it, right? Again, this sort of ties into that whole, you're making changes, you're making a significant, it's not a nuanced change, right? Which is what Ian was saying. And this is what I sort of wanted to touch on a little bit. You sort of, Nancy comes in and says, well, okay, we're going to do it this way. He's only had a couple of days. And James McFadden spoke really well about this on the post-match press conference. You don't have the luxury of being at the start of the season to implement this. You don't have the luxury of being at the start of the Premiership season and, Champions League, Europa League qualifiers and so forth to kind of bed this in, let alone a preseason. You're coming in on a season that's already had a little bit of upheaval. That's kind of, the ship has been righted in the last 5 weeks. And then you're kind of changing everything up again. It's a lot to do, and it's a lot for players to take on board after a couple of days coming into a top of the table clash with Hearts, a game against Roma in the Europa League, and then obviously the cup final against St Mirren. I don't think he has the luxury of that small amount of time to make the changes that he did. And I think, unfortunately, we kind of saw that. Will this work going forward? I actually liked a lot of what I saw in the first half. I'm going to be honest with you. And I agree with Ian. I think this is a formation with the right players that can actually not only be successful, but be really exciting to watch. But I don't think Wilfred has the luxury of time to make such a drastic amount of changes in such a short space of time. And that second half kind of really typified what we saw there. And it was disappointing in the end, the way it fizzled out.
Well, that was exactly what my next thing I was going to ask you was, Shane. So we've used that as a perfect segue. Like I said last week, that my concern's the upheaval. The fact of the matter is, we've gone from Rodgers' horseshoe of death, as it was commented. Someone in the comments said before, horseshoe of doom. There you go. McLaughlin said that. Into Martin's keep the 4-3-3, but be a lot more direct, right? And that straightened out a lot of things. Players started to come back into form, and as you're saying, you bring in a new manager, completely different system again. You'd think that you drip feed in bits and pieces, and then by the end of the January window, hopefully have your full transition because you've managed to bring in players that suit the system better. Looking at this lineup, if you had Alistair Johnson on the right as a wing back, and you've got what's his name on the other side again? Sriracha, that's the one. Mental blank here. If you had those two in, suddenly that back line looks a hell of a lot stronger, right? And the formation works better defensively as well. Even Colby Donovan, with what AJ's out, would suit that system better than having the Bricky in there. So you can settle our back line a lot that way. But then what are we doing up the front? Obviously, Dazen will be off, so we're going to need to bring in a striker that suits his system, possibly two, because we're already a striker down, let's be honest. Do we need wingers? where does Jota fit in when he comes in? Does he come in and play as like one of those 10s at the top of the field instead of playing as a winger? How does he fit into it? So it's one of them things where the new manager coming in great, but we've had a lot of upheaval, and it's one system to another to another. The first one didn't work. The second one did work with his squad. The third one, who knows? It could be too much too soon. It was only 2 days worth of it. We've got to give him time. But this is a ridiculous week to come in as the manager. Let's be honest. You got a top of the table clash. As you said, Shane. Then you got to play Roma. Then you got a cup final. This is the stuff where you come in, you win all three. It's the stuff of legends. If you lose all three, we could have Martin O'Neill back in January, as and you've said a few times in the group chat. Someone in the comments has said that too. So, yeah, it's just a bit of an interesting one for me. Like, my first thoughts are I want to see him do well, but and there's the they were saying everything before the but is bullshit. So I say that with that comment in mind. I want him to do well, but I want us to win. Does that make sense? I want us.
Yeah.
I can tolerate us playing Brendan Rodgers as horseshoe of doom as long as we're winning games. It's boring as hell. It's putting me to sleep during the night just sitting back here watching games. But at the same time, I want us to win.
Well, Ian touched on this earlier, right? The expectation when you come to a club like Celtic domestically is to win. Yes, win with style, absolutely. But at the end of the day, to make sure you're getting the results. And so right now, he's sort of come in, and you're right, it's 3 really tough fixtures for him to come in. He's got a top of the table clash against Hearts, who we know are going to come and be physical. He's then got Roma, and then he's got a cup final. Now, potentially losing 2 or 3 of those games, he's on the back foot straight away. He's on the back foot straight away with the fan base. He's on the back foot straight away with the media. It's a really tough scenario for him to kind of work his way out of. And that's why, again, getting back to what Ian said before about the nuanced changes, you think you'd kind of sort of make slight alterations as you go, start to implement maybe piece by piece what you're wanting to achieve in the end, instead of going, right, let's just do this now. And try and continue that momentum that's been built up. It's very difficult for him to come in at this time, as you said, Jared, and try and get these results, which is the expectation on this club. You don't have that time at the start of the season to bed this in.
It's the third manager before Christmas, guys. That's the thing. This is the stuff the Huns do, not us.
Well, I was going to say as well. I posit that the game at Tynecastle against Hearts when we lost 3-1, that kind of, it was, both teams were pretty crap really. But I reckon that if Martin O'Neill was playing, was in the dugout for Celtic, we would have beaten Hearts, because we would have gone a bit longer. I think Hearts just had us well worked out. And then I don't know if anyone saw the interview with Derek McInnes. I think it was the Daily Record that it was on. He said that he guessed, they've been studying how Nancy was playing with Columbus Crew, and he was pretty convinced that he would change the lineup. So they'd set up to actually to nullify that, and that's how they got the result. So whether that's true or not, I don't know. Whether it was a bit of chaos and uncertainty added with the fact that they kind of set up to play against us in that setup, I don't know. Anyway, it worked, but they didn't look all that great. They didn't look. They got, obviously the first goal was the chaos of our own doing in the box. Second goal, we were at 6s and 7s again. Good header, but
Yep.
Credit where credit's due. But again, it was maybe we kind of run out of luck a little bit, because under Martin O'Neill we were getting the results, but we were a bit flaky. So maybe that was that was coming. I don't know, but again, it was too much too soon, I think. And with a bit of luck, maybe it's kind of like he's taking the sore one, he's taking the blind nose straight away, and he might kind of alter his approach, because with the cup final coming up, I think Roma's maybe a bit of a free hit, but with the cup final coming up, we know that that Robinson, he's a wily coach, and he I said it last week on last week's pod, nearly outfoxed Brendan at the end of last season before we won the title, and when Calmac was going mad at some of the players who thought the title was already won, and then obviously that last minute goal from Calmac the other week in the league. So it's not a foregone conclusion, a cup final. But the thing is, though, it's perception. So with Nancy coming in, it's perception. If he loses all 3 games, the perception is going to be unchangeable. I think it's going to be a real cross to bear from him, and that weight of negativity will be hard for him to shake.
The cup final is a big one for me. Like I think if you lose to Hearts, as frustrating as it is, and it was a frustrating performance, you win the cup final, there's no damage from it. Losing the cup final, even if you beat Hearts, but losing the cup final, I think is not great to recover from. So he's already dropped the game against Hearts. The cup final, if we were to lose at St Mirren, would be very difficult for him to then continue on and turn around, as you said, essentially how he's going to be portrayed.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, I'm going to bring up a comment here from Vinny. So, Ange did lose his first few games before he became a legend, but the timing has been ridiculous. And
Hi, Vinny.
on that, Vinny, I did that because, he's Shane's mate and everything. But the thing is here, Dominic then follows it up. If we lose the next 2 games, as I think we will, then all hell will break out at the club. And the difference between when Ange came in those first 6 games, we dropped points in 3, right? And Nancy coming in, dropping points yesterday, and then having a cup final coming up is the silverware on the line. Martin O'Neill managed to straighten the ship, as we said, and there was some people who wanted him kept until the end of the season. But at the same time, it's also all the shit going on in the background off the pitch with the board, the AGM, the lack of recruitment, the stadium looking run down. There's a whole bunch of stuff there. Protests, the Green Brigade stuff. I could go on and on. There's a whole bunch of shit going on off the pitch that's just made this an absolute cluster. So, unfortunately for Nancy, if Ange came in and did what he did in this exact situation right now, he would have copped the same attitude that a lot of people are doing towards Nancy. So, if Nancy came in and did what he's doing back when Ange came in, yeah, he'd probably get a bit more breathing space. It's just a bit of a toxic environment at the moment off the pitch, which sometimes gets involved into the stadium. And yeah, just unfortunately, this is where we're at.
Well, I think just to look at it from Nancy's point of view as well, right? He's obviously come in, he's got the gig. He's wanting to go into January knowing probably the areas that he needs to strengthen in. He obviously likes to play a particular formation, a particular style of play. So his logic of thinking is also, I want to bet in my style so that when the transfer window opens, I know exactly which players are going to fit my system and which players I'm going to need to actually chop and change. But the potential counteraction to that is that you might have a lack of success domestically in an important part of the season. So I can see it from his angle as well. And to make it not all negative, there were a lot of aspects in the first half of what I saw that I really liked. And there are a couple of players in particular that I thought were really good yesterday in the system that Nancy had. But I think you have this situation where it's like, I can do this and I can start to get prepared for January and going forward long term and start to really bet in now what's going to be long term successful for us. But at the potential expense of what? Do we have enough with this new system and the players to be able to be successful domestically, particularly in the Cup?
I was going to say as well, it's almost like he's been set up for failure with the timing. But it's with that kind of coming in and changing. It's like remember those pick a path books. If you choose this, you go to page such and such. Or if you choose this,
choose your own adventure. They were called over here.
Yeah. Okay. So he had two ways of going. Which was just kind of routine maintenance, just keeping it as the 4-3-3, trying to just keep that until he could sort of understand a bit more about the players and the team and things like that, or change it and go with his tried and trusted formation. He went with the latter. Again, I think it was a mistake, but it's I don't know. I don't know what to say really. It's Shane. I think you're quite right. It's like there's a good theory there about he's going to sort of see what kind of ingredients he needs for it, to make his cake. But the thing is, though, he's not got all of the first team starters, so he's not really going to get a full comprehension or appreciation of what he's got at his disposal. Obviously, you've got Jota out, AJ's out still. Who else is out? Who's
Carter Vickers.
Carter Vickers, yeah. And that was another thing that the point that McFadden made about Trusty being a left footer on the right. So he wasn't able to sort of push out as he normally would. I mean, how any footballer can't use both feet in this day and age, I don't know anyway. But that's another matter. But yeah, it was a big risk, and obviously we lost the game. So he's got off to a bit of a flat start. But I like where the guy's coming from. There was another thing that I was going to say actually as well, without trying to waffle. I'll keep this really short. I said it in the group chat. 3 or 4 interviews he's done, he's laboured the fact that he's only been there for 2 or 3 days. Like, we all know that, but when he signed up to take the job, that was the deal. He's obviously said, yeah, I'll come in and do that. So don't use that. It's like he's making an excuse. But the fundamental part of that is, subconsciously or consciously, you're giving the players an excuse. You can't give the players any excuses. I'm not trying to say that the players have not tried, but if you give someone a consciously or subconsciously a kind of an out or a possible avenue for an excuse, then some people will take it.
You don't get your driver's license after 2 lessons, Ian. So that's pretty much the thing. But if you walk around going, "Oh, I only just took 2 lessons," well, of course you're going to fail.
Yeah,
and that's what you're getting at. Like, yeah, bit of a shit analogy there from me, but it's the same sort of thing where you I get exactly what you're saying. Like, if he's saying, "Oh, you've only had 2 days," then the players are thinking, "Yeah, this isn't working, but we've only had 2 days of it." So they,
yeah. If that was me, right? It's never going to be me, but I suppose he could weigh it up and say, "Well, am I setting myself up for failure here?" They've got these crucial games. Maybe we used to have we used to have a winter break, didn't we? Which could have been perfect. Obviously, we don't have that anymore. But the timing is kind of like, if he's really confident in his own ability, and he can't use that as an excuse. He's obviously knows the 3 games that are coming up when he's going to come in, so he should never mention it, because it sounds like he's making an excuse. I'm not saying he is making an excuse, but it just sounds like it. But by the fact that he mentioned it in at least 3 interviews.
I was just going to say on the game itself, just to sort of have a bit more of a positive touch on it, because obviously we are frustrated at the result and the performance, particularly in the second half, but there definitely were positives. And in terms of individuals, I thought Kieran Tierney was excellent. I thought he was the best player on the pitch for us. He fitted into that left centre-back role very comfortably, like he's obviously done for Scotland. And he was still getting forward. He was still overlapping on the left. And he was the only one really that was putting good balls into the box and actually was making things happen in the final third. Like, his passes in the final third were really good. It's just that little bit of lack of cohesion. It just wasn't clicking. And obviously he scores a goal that for a brief moment gets us back into it. But he was excellent throughout. And I'll give Yang a shout out too. Like, I think, he's come on leaps and bounds under Martin, but that's been on the left as a winger. And then Nancy comes in and says, right, I want you to play on the right, and I want you to be a wing back. So not only are you getting forward, you've got the responsibility of tracking back as well. And I'm sure he's not our ideal player. As you said, AJ easily takes that role from anybody. But when asked to do that, I thought he did really well, and I'd give him a shout out. I thought he worked really, really hard in that role. And so those 2 players in particular, I thought stood out.
Shane, who would your man of the match for both teams have been for the whole game?
Probably Cammy Devlin.
Fair enough.
I really thought that, and in particular the second half, I thought he was really instrumental in midfield for them, just breaking everything up. He was physical, he was annoying, he's that kind of niggly player we need in our midfield to start with. So I'd love to have Cammy Devlin or a Cammy Devlin at Celtic. But I thought when it was getting tight, and we weren't exactly making things happen, but he was working really hard. So either him or the chap that scored the good header. I've forgotten his name.
McConty or whatever it is.
McCantry, I think it was. Yeah, I thought they overall
McAtee.
probably had the better... McAtee, sorry. I thought they probably had the better players, or a couple of the better players on the park, in particular Devlin.
So On Devlin, I know exactly what you mean. The perfect player, though, for Celtic, who's bigger, and Cammy Devlin wears Ryan Teague's pajamas. If you want an Aussie, that's who you want in that role. Um, However, something you said in the group chat, Ian, would you try and target Braga to come across from Hearts? What are your thoughts, Ian? Dive
Well,
into
from what I've seen of him, it's only when I've seen him play against Celtic. Yeah, he looks a bit a nuisance, and yeah, he looks like he could be a good shout. I don't know whether he may be destined for getting punted down to Brighton or down south, whereby he'll be subject then to the EPL tax and then punted for about 50 or 60 million after that. Once he's been anointed and bathed in the glorious waters of the EPL. But yeah, if there's a chance to sort of maybe get him, I don't know how much they got him for. I think it was pennies, really, wasn't it? From second division somewhere. So yeah, I'll definitely take him if the price was right.
All right. What we'll do is I'll bring up some comments that I've been keeping an eye on the whole pod. So heavy vibes. How boys. God bless Martin O'Neill. I thought he was too old and past it. He proved me wrong. Hero forever. Second that heavy vibes. John Kansas saying we were definitely Nancy boys last night, lads. I could kind of get the game plan, but should have stuck with what we know until we had more sessions. I think we all agree with that point there. Smell the glove saying the tactics board was absolutely pathetic. This is a big club pal, not some Yank college outfit. Love it. What do we got? Paul Galante, hail, hail. Heavy vibes was seeing the child's toy. I thought has our luck with managers run out. This comment section's all over this. Mazzano's saying any chances Martin O'Neill returning before the end of the season. Let's just see him get through his 2 or 3 week burst of just like events with like Axom and all the other an evening with things, and then he might consider coming back.
On the tactics board, I'll let you go.
Now go on.
It was kind of like I thought it was a bit. Yeah, it is going to become like a bit of a meme or something. But do you remember? Like I'm a bit older than you guys, but before kind of sat navs really became a thing. I don't know if you ever you used to start like if you got lost or whatever, you used to like pull over and ask someone directions, and they're telling you which way to go, and you just totally glaze over and just not listen, even though they're telling you which way to go. And it's like so with the tactics board. Maybe if he's calling someone over to explain what he wants, it's a visual representation rather than just words. For someone like me, that would probably help. Like the blue thing. See, that's you. You're the blue thing, and that guy's the red thing. Do that. I'd be like, yeah, okay, I get it. If you just started saying, I just go blah, I just hear blah 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 blah, and maybe not take it in. So, in his defence, maybe that's kind of it was just that visual representation that he wanted to just underline.
Makes
Yeah,
sense, Ian, because they say like when I was coaching basketball and everything, one of the things they said in the coaching courses was that there's 3 ways people learn. It's by doing, by seeing, or by being shown, like on a board. So if he's putting 2 of them together, I'm showing you, I'm explaining it,
yeah,
and I'm showing you it, and so you can see it on a board. Maybe he's trying to, cut those 3 things out, and then the other lot is then they'll do it at training during the week or in the
yeah.
game, they'll go out and do it. So maybe he's trying to hit all 3 of those things. He's relying back to that. So yeah,
Gavin Strachan's laptop greater than Wilfred Nancy's magnet tactic board.
Sometimes old school is the only way.
Strachan's laptop looks space age compared to that fucking tactics. What? Paul Galante is saying we need to buy a prolific striker in January. Let's keep scrolling through some comments here. Yeah, right. And then McLaughlin saying any counter-attacking side with a bit of swagger about them will murder this approach. And then he's followed it up with saying he needs his own players to adopt this. Our squad don't have the brains or the quality for such changes. then Dominic is saying bargain basement manager for a bargain basement team. We'll keep scrolling through. There we go. Talking about Tenecti. He reminds me of a left-sided Kun when he had sore teeth. This one here ties into what you were saying about Tierney being the best player for us, Shane, right? So maybe on the wings puts in a decent cross in the box. Tierney's first stint, he'd always get to the byline and cross, or he'd try to get a shot in, right? What I'm really liking this season is his early cross that he's putting in. Basically, between the 6-yard box and the penalty spot, whipping in that early cross and giving our striker something to run and get onto. So, yeah, that's where our main crossing option's coming from at the moment. But, yeah, it's bit of an interesting one. We've got here Dominic saying it comes down to appalling recruitment from Sleepy Tisdale. And there was a few other things, a few other Tisdale ones later on in here as well. But yeah, it's all things considered. There's a zombie in the comments. Yep, piss off, idiot.
It's more the emoticon that's actually in the comment that he's posted that's actually sent me a little bit there.
Where's that? Down the bottom?
Right, yep. It's like a fish going nuts.
Buffalo Albert.
You muppet. Tactics boards are great when you win. Simon from Denny.
So
Yeah,
not Denny Utemuster, is it?
Nah.
Okay.
Oh, don't talk about. We're talking about Denny again, the Ute Master.
I wasn't on that episode.
Yeah. So yeah, I just think it's a bit of an interesting situation. So what I'll do is we'll get those comments there. The thing with Tisdale, right? I love that thing in our chat today from the movie thing on Tisdale. Absolute pisser. Got to make it happen. But yeah, the guy Tisdale, man, like, what's he doing? Seriously. Who was it? Was it you, Ian, who said in the chat that one of the chats that he's the guy that goes to TK Maxx and buys all the shit off the sales line? Was it you who said that, or was it someone else?
I could possibly have said that.
I thought that was a fair shout, to be honest with you.
No, it's like you always wonder who buys the stuff on the sale reel, because it's like a lot of it is like, you know, when you saw Boric and Scott Brown when they unveiled at Celtic, it was like, you know, big Top Gear Gene Energy. There's obviously been the top TK Maxx. I don't know if you get TK Maxx in Australia, but
yeah, we do.
All right, yeah.
Came out here a few years ago.
Yeah, so yeah, all the stuff that people don't buy, Tisdale wears.
Fair enough. Yeah, so he's an idiot, but yeah, I just think we've got to get our recruitment right in January, and Tisdale is an absolute chancer. Anyway.
Look, I mean, he's so under the radar and quiet. The only sort of interviews I can really find is when he was in his previous life. There's not.
Oh no! He was about to make a great point.
That's it. Guess he just got sniped.
Ian
just got sniped.
Oh, he's back.
Tisdale. You got sniped by the board. They just cut us off when you started.
I'm back.
You're back. Yeah, you cut out.
Am I back?
Yeah, you're back.
I'm back.
You were saying?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to watch my P's and Q's. No, I'm just saying that he's been really under the radar. So I'm not like, and it's only a joke, by the way, about the TK Maxx stuff. You know, he's a well-dressed man. He's in one of the metaverse. He's a really well-dressed guy. Just not this one, I don't think. So, in my opinion. So just keep it simple, keep it classic. I've worked in Milan before, you know. I've had some. I know what good looks like. But yeah, no, it's just kind of.
Yeah, you're looking at us both.
Yeah. No, I'm not saying I dress well, but yeah, it's yeah. He must be working on his Wi-Fi. Yeah. So no, look, as I said, the interviews and things that I've seen from Tisdale, they seem to always be in the past, his previous life, rather than at Celtic. So, maybe he's working wonders in the background, and we'll see the fruits of it after. Look, if Nancy proves a success, then he's been worth his money, really. Even if that's the only thing he does. If we get a manager that wins things over the next 2.5, 3 years or whatever, then I suppose all is forgiven. But he's kind of perceptionally, he's kind of it's not looking too positive at the moment for him.
The reason I brought up Tisdale is to set it up nicely to get a good segue into the next topic, right? So we're talking about recruitment in January, and with Dazen going out potentially, and that we've got to strengthen. Everything Celtic put this tweet up earlier. Celtic purchased 3 attackers during the summer transfer window for around £12 million. We're now in December and they've registered just 1 goal and 1 assist between them, the 3 of them in the Scottish Premiership. So you have a look there. You've got, what's that, Balikwisha, Tenekti, and Shin.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Good fun.
Bit unfair on Shin, isn't it? Shin's
Yeah,
not been given a chance.
Well, that's the next one I've got to bring up for you to have a chuckle at this. This shows how dumb some people are. Steve in the top comment. I mean, Inamura was hardly had a shot or no. The other 2 are highly questionable. That's not Inamura. Moron. Anyway, yeah, we got to. I don't trust Tisdale to sort this out. I think we need to go the old route Ange did, and Ange got guys he knew from Japan in.
Yeah.
If Nuncey's coming in, we're going to back him to get a few people in from the MLS that he knows will come in and could do the job. So that's what I'm thinking. What do you reckon, Shane?
Yeah, I agree. I think you go to where Nancy has had a lot of success, and obviously the main part of the success he's had has been over in the MLS. I think that the league isn't at anywhere near a comparative to European standard or anything like that, in my opinion, but it is still a good league with a lot of quality players in it that are well worth bringing across. And Alistair Johnston, for example, is a wonderful player, right? So definitely makes sense to look there. It's an area that, not a lot of other clubs aren't actually looking at either. And you're kind of sort of focusing on an area that you're familiar with. But someone mentioned this in the comments before, right? When we get to January and Nancy's like, I need some quality here. I need some quality wingbacks. I need some quality up top here. I mean, it was mentioned before. It's exactly the kind of dispute that Brendan had with the board, right? Which is, I need quality, and the board saying, okay, and then sort of ending up with the players that maybe he didn't necessarily want. Is there anything to suggest this could possibly change in January?
I've got a response for you, Shane. We're all going to be going into this in January thinking, oh, we need another Alistair Johnston. They'll be easy. We'll be able to identify one of them, right? And we'll end up with an Andrew Gutman and Manny Perez instead.
Well, I guess the thing is, though, does the fact that they've brought in someone like Nancy and probably the knowledge that he is maybe going to look at the US, look at Canada, look at that region of the world to bring players in, perhaps a little bit on the cheaper side compared to some players in Europe, does that mean the board are sort of more open to that? Obviously, him signing on as manager, because he might be looking at quality in that part of the world, which might be a bit cheaper than necessarily going, I need a player from over here. I need that player that's currently in the Netherlands, or I need a player that's currently playing in the Belgium top flight. That might tie in a little bit with his selection as the gaffer as well, right?
Yeah, I think so. My one concern would be American players tend to be a bit more athletic. In general, if you're looking at it, they tend to be the bigger, more athletic. They're athletes first, footballers second. You look at the Canadians, they've started having good players with that right balance coming through into Europe, right? So they're spread out across all over the place now. My concern is we do need size, we need strength, but that's what Rodgers wanted in January, not last year. He wanted it in January last year. Still hasn't arrived. So if we're going to try and bring these players in, great. Get them in, bet them in if they're the ones he wants for next season. But I don't really think there's going to be too many. The MLS is a bit of a weird one to shop in because you either got expensive players or you've got cheap. There's like that middle tier of that 5, 6 to 8 million range doesn't really exist. You're either looking at 9, 10, 12 million, or you're looking at 2, 3, 4. And I think that's the one our board will go. We'll get 3 of those 2, 3, 4 players, and rather than getting you one starting quality player. What do you think, Ian?
I still think we're kind of in a space where, we don't need massive reconstruction, but I still think we need to go for like 2 or 3 high quality players from whatever league that may be. Obviously, if you can find a gem that has a ceiling to improve that can become, but I do wish that Celtic would go out and buy more complete packages within our budget, obviously. But I think that kind of the Ari Engels argument, I think that we wouldn't have paid as much for him had we been a bit more astute in the transfer market. I think leaving it to the sort of last knock-ins is went against us. So I think, going out and like buying 3 or 4 £2 to £3 million players from the MLS, that is probably what we will do, Jared. But it's 2 £10 to £15 million players that are a bit more proven that we need, in my opinion.
It's not even 10 to 15 million pound, Ian, for me. Honestly, I think if we sell Dazen, we'll probably get 15, 20 million for him quite comfortably. So if you get that money, if you get 20 million for Dazen, right, and then you flip that for 2 players at like 7, 8 million each, around the spend that we put in for, your Jotters, your CCVs, even your Chris Julians back in the day, right? That level of spend, up to what we spent for Eddie. Where do you need 2 players to strengthen this team and just run over everyone? There's 2 players because Jotta's coming back, which will strengthen our wing rotation. We need 2 first-team players. We need a quality number 6, a big physical number 6 who's athletic to free Calmac up. Then he can drop into the midfield a bit more. And we need a quality first-team striker to replace a main man who's getting sold. We do that, Jota comes in and fills one of those the weak spot on the wing, so now we're fine. I think we need 2, maybe 3. That's it.
It'd be a challenge for Jota to come back from his injury as a wingback, particularly early on. Like, I'd see him playing more in that creative, one of the 2-10 roles. I think having him come back and then saying, right, you have to be an attacking threat, but also track back defensively, I think that's going to be a lot to ask for him. So obviously, Yang, if that's how Nuncy wants to continue until AJ comes back, and obviously AJ's out for a fair while. But, Yang was away if Michael Nicholson had answered his phone, right, in the last transfer window. Who's to say Yang isn't away again? Allegedly didn't answer his phone, sorry, just to cover myself. But, if we lose Maeda and Yang, they're 2 right now starting first-team players. I don't even want to imagine what would happen if we don't replace them. I'm even scared to think about it.
Yeah, it'll be an interesting one. Smell the glove. Why does everyone think Jota coming back is a solution? Not with an injury. I don't think he's going to be the main man this season. It's going to take time. He always takes time to get up to speed anyway. I'm just saying, as a priority, if you keep Tenecti, Jota, you've got Jamesy, you've got Yang, you have Balakwisha, you've got 5 or 6 options there to play the wing positions. Yes, I'll give credit, half of them probably aren't good enough. But priorities will be, we need a quality starting striker. And there's probably 1 or 2 other things we need before you go and get another quality winger there. What are you thinking of this? Pete McGee saying 5-10 million tops for Dazen. What do you think, Shane?
Look, his value, I think, is definitely diminished from where it was, unfortunately. I'd still like to think we could get above 10 for him.
Ian, what are you thinking?
I think we missed the sweet spot.
It was last summer.
Yeah, last summer, I think. I kind of had the worry, like I've said in the group chat as well, like my kind of perception of Dyson is that he punched well above his weight for a season. He kind of he's not a natural. I don't think he's a striker. The 2 or 3 chances he missed against Hearts. I know he's carrying an injury and maybe his vision's impaired a little bit, but that's not a one-off.
Why's he playing?
What's that?
Then why is he playing if he can't see?
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't know if that's a fact, but it's not unusual for Dyson to either do something sublime or do something that's ridiculous.
Yeah, no.
And that's why he's not at a top club, because he's not consistent enough. And I don't think it was any coincidence that when Harry Kewell was working with him, his game upped massively. And he demanded that people players went past the man and all that kind of stuff, and kind of we all know how good Harry Kewell was. So I think he kind of exceeded expectations for a season. The way he took that goal was against Rangers, one of the cup finals as well. Like he was sublime for at certain periods, but it's just not consistent enough. So I think his value's definitely gone down.
He was really frustrated yesterday, and it's the first time in a couple of weeks I've seen him really frustrated. He was frustrated under Brendan's tenure earlier this season. Under Martin O'Neill, he'd started to work back into some form and really looked like he was enjoying his football again. But yesterday he was just giving away needless fouls. He was kicking out at people. You could tell he was annoyed, and it was a little bit sad to see, to be honest, because I thought maybe we'd sort of gotten him sort of back to where he was, and it was going to be a bit of a nicer farewell for him. I hope we don't see the return of the poutiness that we saw throughout sort of earlier this season.
Well, the thing is as well, the better he plays, the better the movie gets.
Absolutely.
100%. So, yeah, it's going to be an interesting one to see how that all plays out. But, yeah, just going to bring up a comment from Heavy Vibes here, which is saying, we always wanted 2 players for each spot. Struggle to have 2 for 1. Struggle to have 1 these days. Yeah, exactly. It's pretty blunt. The team's pretty average, but we'll see how that plays out. But with that in mind, boys, Celtic versus Roma, do we have a chance? Shane, Mr. Positivity over here. What do you reckon?
Always a chance. No matter what, always a chance. Even the slimmest of slims, always a chance. It's a home tie, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, well, then always a chance when we're playing at Paradise, no matter who we're against. Look, it's going to be difficult. And, what we saw against Hearts, the things that didn't work were pretty glaring. So they're going to have to be tidied up if we're any chance to get a positive result. The cohesiveness is going to need to be a lot more on point. They're going to have to continue the tempo they started with throughout the match a bit more. That's going to have to last a lot longer. It was hard to even imagine how they would get control of the game or how they would manage a game, because obviously they didn't get into the lead against Hearts. So that's something that remains to be seen under Nancy as well. But look, as I said, just to circle back, we're always a chance when we play at Paradise, and we should never forget that. But it's going to be a very, very tough tie. What I'm actually looking for is just to see improvements in the areas that we struggled against with Hearts. I want to see players more on the same wavelength. I want to see better passing, particularly in the final third. I want to see players actually busting a gut to get to the right spots. If I see that, irrespective of the result, I'll feel relatively positive about things.
I was just having a look at Roma's recent results, right? So if we go back and have a look, right? So 2-1 they beat Parma, lost 1-0 to Milan, beat Rangers 2-1, so 2-0. Beat Udinese 2-0. Then Midtjylland, how much did they thump us? They beat them 2-1. But then their last 2, since then, they've lost 1-0 to Napoli and lost 1-0 to Cagliari, however you say that. So I butchered that. So they're 4th in the Serie A at the moment. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting one there. Like when you look at the actual group stages for the Europa League, they're like 2 wins, 3 wins they are, and 2 losses, and we are 2-1 and 2. So there's only a couple of points between us. So who knows? Will be interesting to see what happens. I'm waiting to see Robert Gibson's meltdown over the Roma result. If we actually win, Robert, I can't wait to see what you put in the comments next week. But Ian, what are your thoughts heading into that game?
I think we would have had a decent shout if it was under O'Neill, because of the momentum we'd had, and the fact that he hadn't changed too much from Brendan's style, which obviously was more comfortable for the players. I think he just simplified it. We touched on that last week. That I felt that he simplified things and allowed the players to go a bit longer. Like under the first half against Hearts, we played some long balls. I'm not saying that we should all go with Wimbledon, but I think if it was the 4-3-3 and it was less disruption for the players, I think we would have a decent shout. But I think if we persist with the new formation, despite the fact that I think it's going to be an exciting formation, I think it's too soon to be asking the players to change and expect positive results.
That's what Smell the Glove says here. Properly run clubs treat 3 big games like top of table Hearts, crucial European tie and cup final with respect, not fanning about with new systems and confusing average players. And Robert Gibson's response to the Roma one is, be more chance of my ass singing like Pavarotti. There you go. So, yeah, what are you thinking? For me, I think we'll probably, if we get home away with a draw, I'll be absolutely ecstatic. But yeah, I'm thinking maybe a 2-1, maybe 2-0. I don't expect us to win that one. What do you boys think?
2-1 loss for me.
Yeah, I think we'll. I don't think we'll win. This sounds like I'm being really negative as well. I'm not. There was a lot of positives from Nonce, and I think he will get it right. I just think that there's too many messages, too many things for the players to sort of have and try and grasp. And these players will punish you in Europe. They'll punish you. I think if we beat Roma and lose the cup final, I don't think that's going to wash. I think if we lose to Roma and win the cup final, but we're seeing progress, I think fans will. I'm on board. I think we're not like other clubs, by and large, where I think we're kind of quite fair minded as a support, and I think we can see, the guys just in the door, and we'll give him time, we'll give him a chance, but. Yeah, I think hopefully it's not a cricket score because there's calamitous stuff happening like we did it with that the goal that Braga scored.
I'm just having a look at Roma's lineup of their players, and I'm like, geez, there's some names there. So we'll throw a few in there. Paulo Dybala, Evan Ferguson.
Aye.
You got Leon Bailey and Stefan El Shawari. Remember that one? Any old FIFA players back in the day?
No.
Or Football Manager guys? He was one of those wonder kids.
Oh, like an Natalie Todorov.
And then Tabby Abraham.
Oh yeah, good player.
So that's just me looking at just their forwards, right? And then you look at our forwards. There you go.
No, I'm with Ian. You got to get on board the magnet board. Let's go.
There we go. So after that cup final, St Mirren, what do you reckon? Stephen Robertson been pretty well switched on with us recent times, so that's why giving them a lot more credit than they should. Honestly, I think we win that in extra time.
Nah, Nancy will have worked it out by then. 6-0 scudding.
Well, look at the first half against Hearts. We almost blew them away. If we'd taken our chances, we could have been 2 or 3 up. So, if he sticks to the same formation and he goes out all out, and we put away some chances that we create, then it could be all a bit of a fairy tale, and we don't have to rely on getting to extra time and stuff like that. So it can go one of two ways. I know it's pretty stating the obvious, but yeah, I think if we come out the blocks fast and can put a couple of chances away, I think it'll be an easy day.
Look, they haven't been in great form in the league. They picked up a win against Dundee United on the weekend, but prior to that, they'd been winless in 4. So they're not exactly coming into this at the top of their game either. And I know a cup final, anything can happen. And I was obviously joking before about the 6-0. I think we'll still win, but probably 2-0 or 2-1. A cup final, anything can happen, but they're not in the greatest of forms. And it's obviously a different proposition that Stephen Robinson has to come up against now. So obviously he's someone that has matched up well against Brendan previously in the past. And obviously they pushed us only a few weeks ago against Martin in a system that was not too dissimilar to what Brendan had. Now this is a whole different thing. They're going to have to scout that completely differently. That does give us a little bit of an edge against a team that I think isn't in the greatest of forms.
Fair enough. I'll bring up some comments and then we'll get to our final thoughts. So we've got some comments here. Pete McGee saying, I don't know where our goals would come from versus Roma. BKS4YI saying Iheanacho hat-trick. Heavy Veil saying battered by 3+ goals playing that 3-4-3 with them players. Robert Gibson is saying Willie will chuck his tactics board at the Roma bench. McLaughlin, Evan Ferguson is bound to score. Pete McGee, sack the board, Desmond's out. Robert Gibson then follows up with Iheanacho couldn't score if he fell in a bag of fannies.
Geez, you are going off tonight, Robert.
Smell the glove. I'm dying to eat humble pie and Nancy proves me wrong. With the magnet board we trust.
Yes, up the magnet board.
So, yeah, for final thoughts, I have 2. Okay, so the first one I want to touch on quickly, and it's specifically about the club, Celtic Football Club. Fan media going to press conferences of the rota, so there's a rotation, certain ones get to go all the time, right? It's now all under review. This is the next logical step in this whole backlash towards it. Your Green Brigade gets banned, you ban fan media now getting into interview players and stuff like that. It's an absolute joke. Like, this is so petty. Get over it, club. Like, fucking grow up. Be the adults in the room. Anyway, that's just my thoughts on that. But yeah, Shane, final thought?
Similar to yourself, 2 ones from me. I just want to give a quick shout out to Vinny. Obviously, he was in the comments earlier. Vinny, big Celtic fan, very good friend of mine who's gone over and been able to see Celtic at Paradise for the very first time. Obviously not the result you wanted against Hearts, but a wonderful experience nonetheless, and I hope you're having the best time, buddy. But then a quick album shout out, Stars of CCTV by Hardfire is 20 years old. It's a great album. It's not groundbreaking by any stretch of the imagination, but a fun album, and give it a listen.
Ian, you had a final thought?
Just really welcome to Wilfred and his team, and stick with it. We're all family, so yeah, I've got high hopes, and let's just get through the initial turbulence.
My last one is pretty simple. Those who know, my wife's been in hospital recently. She was sick. She had pneumonia, right? So some people reaching out once they found out, don't know them personally, just from the Celtic sphere, sending out messages saying, hey, best wishes to your wife. Hope she's doing well. Hope you're both doing well. That sort of stuff. For me, it's overwhelming. I really appreciate it. So thanks to everyone who passed on their best wishes. Really appreciate it. And make sure, especially this time of year, you look after yourself. Everyone's got a lot going on. If you're not feeling right, go get checked out. Make sure, you look after your health. So yeah, that's how I was want to end it. Thanks everyone for tuning in. If you haven't done so, subscribe to the channel, like the podcast, help us with the algorithms and all that sort of bollocks. But yeah, just thanks everyone. We'll be back next week. Hail, hail.
Hail, hail.